That is very true, right? Okay, we're representing for the Christian witches, right? Let's not bash the Christians too much because it really isn't about.
It's not
It's
that.
not about that at all. It's not about.
Trauma. It's
Yeah,
like
it's a certain group of each religion, not just of the Christians. They just tend to make a lot
exactly.
of
It's
noise, but
religious trauma. It's
every
being
group of religious people have the people that are just here to like traumatize the rest of us and are not actually invested in anybody's
not
happiness.
that. It's not even religion. It's people who are in their unhealed state, not aligned to their power, not doing the things that makes them happy. So they lean on things to fill stuff up, but they're doing it for the wrong reasons. So they become almost addicted to it, or they connect to the incorrect ideology. Like it's like
Sorry, Neri said, I'm like, okay, he loves you too. Like, go us.
that.
Yay, thank you. Yes, I'm
I don't
aware. Like,
understand.
woo, I'm so happy.
Jesus is my homeboy. I don't
Jesus
understand.
is my homeboy, like even more today than ever, which is like,
Facts, which is very interesting. Like as
that's
soon
a whole thing.
I think that's because my very, 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 very Christian grandmother passed recently in 2021. So
Yeah.
I feel like that might be why. She's like, bitch, Jesus. And I'm like,
Yeah.
all
For me, it's Black
right.
Herman. For me, it's Black Herman. As I've
Very
been working with
Christian,
him
yes.
as a devout Christian, like I was kind of struggling with that. And what he has basically shown me is that, like, that faith, first of all, I learned something important about Christ, which kind of put him into perspective for me because I've, for the longest time, thought about him as like different from like any other deity and stuff like that, just because, and I think this happens for a lot of people that grow up in a Christian household or a very religious household and get into the craft. You feel like you have to completely push yourself away from that in order to embrace being a witch. And then over time, I see a lot of people start to come back with a
But
deeper and
why?
different understanding.
But why? Because they told you that's the devil. They told you that's the
Right,
opposite.
right,
So
right.
you're an
Because you
assumption
didn't
that
have a real relationship with that deity, so you didn't know. So you're just listening to what people are telling you about what this deity loves, doesn't like, all of this stuff. So it's very common for that. And so I was definitely one of those people that was like, hey, listen, no, like no problem with Jesus at all, but like he's not for me. It's just not my thing. And then recently I've learned that like any other deity, they respond to offerings, they respond to an exchange of energy to build a relationship. And what makes him just a little bit different from a lot of the others, not all of the others, but a lot of the others, is that his ideal offering is faith.
yo, that oh my God. That have faith thing is like irking me
That's
a little
that's
bit,
his
but
thing.
like I hear you. And so I'm gonna follow through. And so
That's
I've
his
also
whole
been
thing.
called to have faith a lot recently, but like
Yeah,
literally it's like have faith, have faith. And I'm like,
yeah.
all right.
That's his whole thing. Like some deities really like, blood sacrifice. Some deities really like offering. Some of like, food. Some like rum and like spirits and alcohol. Some like whatever.
Cigars.
His thing is I literally pulled an oracle card and it was like just crazy. I was like, okay, what do I need to do right now? Like to like work with Jesus, which is a question I don't think I ever thought I'd be asking. And literally, I pull a card that says, I surrender to faith and devotion.
Yeah, Jesus loves you.
That's his whole thing. He loves you if you have faith.
If you
And the end, to be clear, it's not faith in him, which is what people I think get confused. It's faith in God, the bigger concept, the thing that he calls his father.
creator source energy, for sure, for sure.
Yeah,
Faith in the
it's faith
fact
in
that everything is happening in divine timing and that you are in the exactly where you need to be in this now.
yeah.
Faith in that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, but no cap on D, fuck that Michelle. Yeah, Black Herman has been all over the place. Child, oh my gosh. It's been for the first time in a very long time, there's been so much going on with me spiritually, working with Black Herman and all of the revelations and now Jesus and things that have been happening, that I haven't even had the time to like journal about it. I literally wrote in my journal the other day about my last trip to Harlem and for my birthday and going to Abyssinian Church, Baptist Church, and like connecting with Black Herman. In my journal, I wrote, see my last YouTube video because I just I can't write it all down because it's just been so much. But like just to validate the relationship that I've been having with start shouting at other Baptists. Yeah, to validate the relationship I've been having with Jesus. Someone came into the shop, someone that's been following me for a brief period of time online, but someone that I would definitely put into the category of like these random angels. I've told you about these random people that show up at the shop with like prophetic messages for me and things like that. So he showed up. He's from California, but he happens to be in town. He's a performer, and he came to the shop, and had like a whole impromptu channeling session. We talked for like an hour. It was pretty intense. And at one point, he left the shop because he wanted to get Black Herman's grimoire and prayer card or candle, one of the two. And he wanted to pay in cash. And he was like, "Oh, you know what? Let me go to the ATM." So he goes to the ATM, and he comes back, and he goes, "You know, I wanted to ask you something." And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Why is Jesus Christ up in here?" And I was like, well, goddamn. This is somebody that just started following me. I don't think they're on the YouTube channel. They are on Instagram. And he was like, why is Jesus Christ up in here? Because he was like, there were ancestors like all over the place when I first got here. And then there were a couple of other like primordial spirits and things that came through. And then there was a child at one point that had come through. And he was like, but Jesus Christ is up in here. Like, what's that about? And I was like, it's a whole thing. We've already been talking for 2 hours, and I got to get back to this. But
he's cool with us. We're doing a thing.
We're doing a thing.
We're doing a thing right now. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Trinity and original sin.
Yeah,
I feel like that is emphasized a lot in Catholicism because I grew up like in the AME church, and like I don't feel like they talked about the concepts of the original sin and stuff like that so much.
I grew up Roman Catholic, so I got all that, and that's why I used to get in trouble a lot because what
because what
a baby,
right?
Like that I didn't understand that, and the Trinity, I'd be like, oh cool, so we're pagan, we got three gods, and like
oh my god, try to tell them that they have a trifecta deity. Oh my god. You're like, but the dad is the son, and also the son is the dad, and then also there's this other guy. He's them too.
Holy Spirit. So we do believe in ghosts, though. So there's no to that. Just the Spirit only, just the Holy Spirit. Okay, but yeah, I used to get in trouble.
Make it make sense. But then when you call it what it really is, it does make sense. You're like, oh, it's a trifecta deity. And it's like, oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Makes more sense. Like a Hecate, like a three-faced goddess or something like that. I understand the different aspects of this energy, this source energy, this
Parvati is Durga,
master healer, this master
You've seen
healer
this
energy.
all over the place. Like,
copy, cool.
It's different forms, same dude.
Those little votives that y'all be lighting, that we be lighting, that the church be lighting, that's candle magic.
Doing candle magic.
That's whole candle magic. Okay. All right. But I can't light my candle?
Right. Yeah. No, I was just saying that to somebody. I was like, because, the neighborhood we're in obviously is a very Latin neighborhood. And I've had little old Spanish ladies walk by. In the Bronx, we call everybody Spanish, in case you guys are clear. No one is from Spain. But I just want to be clear that, like, we call people by their language. So, but there would be these little Spanish ladies walking by, and I literally overhear them like saying prayers, protecting themselves as they like shuffle past. One of them I call shuffle, so she's got a little waddle. When like shuffling past the door. Meanwhile, you wake up every Sunday morning, smoke the whole house with frankincense and copal, wash the floors with Florida water, and say an incantation over your grandchildren every time they leave the house. But when I do it, it's brujeria.
It's biased. There's a little bit of racism involved there.
That part too.
Because what I recently saw there's a lot of Catholic influence in the Caribbean islands as well. So they have a lot of religious trauma as well.
Right.
And they think and they justify the things that they do as to be the Dios, of Jesus and stuff like that. When if you run it by the Roman Catholics, they would be like, nah, none of that. So,
Cynthia said, I get in trouble because I said, if they expect me to believe God is three persons, then don't tell me a person can't use the pronoun they. Right. Like Cynthia be causing all kinds of ruckus in her town because she goes to all the meetings and all the things, but she also like speaks her mind. So, you know, she be ruffling the feathers. I love it.
Bro, I took a Bible as literature class in college
Me too, in high school though. Yeah.
just to like fuck with people,
Yeah.
because what ends up happening in these classes that are theoretical and philosophical in nature, they're college level Bible as literature classes, as literature, not as literal. You get these like really religious people to come into class and kind of like defend the Bible, like that's their point of coming to class.
Right.
And I just had so much fun with them. Like, so you're trying to tell me that Moses was not on opium when he was seeing that whole burning bush situation? Like, that's a total possibility. That was a very common drug at the time. Like, history, like, there's I had fun. It's a beautiful book and there's so much to learn from it. But there's a lot that you cannot take literally.
Right. It's a book. And not to like not even to get into the parts of like which book is it and which parts were left out. Like imagine reading book 7 of Harry Potter and having like chunks of it cut out, right?
Correct.
So there's that part, and then like historical context, the different versions that were commissioned. How many people are walking around with a King James version of the Bible in their purse but don't know who King James is?
Yeah.
Or when he was alive, or what his motivations were, or what he felt about Black people or women.
Facts on all of that and all of the other versions that were contrived by every other individual who's decided to change things according to their whims, or their, you know, because they're weird. They like whatever. But there's also like the actual parables themselves. People are uninformed about the fact that Matthew, Mark, Luke, all of these people were writing to different individuals. And so the stories are very different and almost contradictory. So
well, here's the important thing, and that explains that though, because what a lot of people don't know if you don't study the Bible from like a historical perspective is that the books of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John were not written by Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. They were written by their disciples
people
hundreds of years later, and with each book, they are further hundreds of years later, where it's the disciples of the disciples of the disciples. And this is why the story is different across the 4 different versions, because people are playing telephone. And then when it finally got written down by somebody, it was a very much altered version of what happened with some similarities around it. And most people who are spouting Bible verses have no idea that Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John didn't ever write a single fucking word in the books of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Nor do they understand things like the word Psalms means song. And those are songs. And I don't know if you've ever listened to a song, but we don't sing songs like, hello, girl, my name is Mike. It's nice to meet you. We are poetic and we are descriptive. You know what I'm saying? There's an Usher song that I really like where he basically says he wants to dick you down. He says, I'm a dog with a bone. I want to bury it in you. We use a lot of innuendo when we're writing a song. We like to make things rhyme and shit like that. So we don't speak literally. So there's so many layers of like the beauty of the text that is used to make up the Bible, but also the fact that if you don't have an education on these things, you really can completely be convinced that something else is going on. And then to have the nerve to just repeat that blindly, know nothing about it, and want to make other people's lives miserable because of it is just like, that's evil, if you ask me.
I feel like there's like a lack of education. I feel like education would help. I feel like our education system in America is like kind of fucked, and there's as a teacher, as a background in education, I just feel like Common Core standards are important. And if you educate people on critical thinking skills, it allows them to, like we did, think for themselves. When approached with a religion, I could be like, I don't think that's for me.
Yeah.
And then people can be like, oh, that's cool because we actually live in America and there's religious freedom. So you're good. You can do whatever you want. But it don't play out like that. And that just is like weird to me.
Yeah. It's, to me, I think it really just speaks to the heart of the difference between religion and spirituality. because spirituality is concerned only with your individual well-being, your individual connection to God and to yourself. Whereas religion is not interested, it seems, in your well-being at all. It's not interested in your actual genuine connection to God. It's more interested in the conformity of everybody acting out the same theatrics and reciting the same words blindly. But my argument that I've made to people, or the thing I've tried to point out to people, is to remember that the church, again, not the religions, not the people that are in it, but the church itself is a business. You have to think, when you start looking at the church the same way you would look at Apple or Starbucks, it all starts to make perfect sense. Is Starbucks the best coffee in the world? Absolutely not. But there are people that would literally drive an extra 2 miles to get to the Starbucks instead of the Dunkin' Donuts down the road, because the business has built a brand that people like to be a part of. It's a club that they want to be a part of. They want to have the white cup with the brown cup sleeve and the green emblem. They want to have a part of the branding. And the church is a business as well. It is not going to, like, Starbucks would never tell you that you could grow a coffee bean better than what they sell you. Right? So the church is never going to tell you that you could develop a connection to God that's better than what they're trying to provide you. They would lose their customers. And the way they keep you tied to the brand, even if the product isn't good, it's through that brand identity. So you walk around just like somebody with a Starbucks cup or, a Starbucks mug. You're walking around with your Bible and your cross necklace, and you're like, I'm a part of the club. Look at the brand. And you need to realize that you are being used for free marketing. And I don't have a problem with being used as marketing, okay? If Marc Jacobs wants me to rock a Marc Jacobs t-shirt, absolutely, but you're going to pay me. And the way that the church should be paying the people that are doing its marketing is with actual results, happiness, and real connection to the divine. And they're not. And so many people are okay with that. You are getting stiffed. You are getting robbed. You are getting shortchanged while you are doing all the work of promoting the brand for that business. Wake up.
Yeah, man. That I couldn't have said it any better, but that's definitely hitting the point of, like, guys, some people, it's for some people. It is for some people. If you've thought it through and you're like, no, but this resonates with me, then copy. That is for you. But if you haven't, if you think to yourself, like, damn, I haven't even really had like a like, is this what I believe? Like, we need to be allowed to do that as human individuals. And if you're not even allowed to ask questions, that's a problem. Again, I bring it back to fear-based. If you are getting ideologies of fear and hatred in your religion, that's a problem. Like, that's not the point of religion and spirituality.
Right.
So yeah, check those things. It shouldn't be making you hate other people. Like,
right. Or yourself.
That's not Christ-like. That's definitely not what Jesus would do. So
Jesus
like,
loved himself and everybody else.
Yeah.
Monica has a really great point about the church not wanting priests to get married because of it was property related, right? And I'm sure the explanation that they would give wasn't, we want to make sure that we keep your property after you die and not that hag that you married, but the something related to God and men and and so there's a lot of these, like, they're lies. There's a lot of this, like, misinformation given by the church. The archdiocese is the largest landholder in the world outside of the Church of England. The largest landowner. And guess what? Everybody's country is a little bit different, but in America, not a dime in property taxes. Not a dime in property taxes. You, the parishioner, foot the bill for this organization to be wealthy, to be a $1 billion company, and you pay for it to be a $1 billion company, and they can't even do you the courtesy of coming through on their progress and their promise to, like, help your life be better. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to cut me off a piece of it with a check. Fine. but at least give me what you say you're going to give me, this sense of peace and happiness and belonging and connection to God. Like, at least give me that. I mean, personally, I would take the check, but you know, something. Kimberly says, my mom went to a church by her house and didn't have cash for the basket they passed around, and the usher told her there's an ATM at the door. There are John Oliver. I don't know if you guys remember, he did the Daily Show right after Jon Stewart left for a while. Shout out John Oliver, he's genius. First of all, he has a hilarious but also scary and sad episode where he starts a religion to show how easy it is to start a religion. And how easy it is not only to start a religion, but to like get people to give you money for their religion. And that led him to do like more investigation into the people that are sending money for these like anointed prayer cloths and, you know, say a prayer for me and da 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 da. And it was
The holy
so
water.
sad. Right.
Oh
The
my
holy water, the
God.
healing water. So
Peter
sad.
Popoff. That's his name, by the way.
There are people
Disrespectful.
that are elderly that are dying of cancer, that are giving their chemotherapy money to the church because the church is saying, oh, but put your faith in God, give us your money, we'll send you this bottle of fucking crocodile tears and it will help you while these people are dying and giving their last time over to the church. That is the business of the church. And not every body in the church is that sleazy, but you have to understand that the only reason why something like that can happen is because it is a business. If it wasn't a business, you would never be able to do that on any level of the organization because people would be looking for real results, real healing in their lives. They wouldn't be sitting here 5 years later, still riddled with cancer, giving you $100 every week for prayers in the prayer service. Okay. So, right. Not a parishioner, you're paying their taxes. Right. All of us, unfortunately, especially in America, this Christian organization, like we pay into the municipalities that allow these churches to exist without paying any taxes. And so my tax money, whether I like it or not, is going to the preservation of churches and the maintenance of the streets around them and their ability to be there because of the stronghold that they have on us. So it's really not a surprise that so many of us are carrying such deep wounds that go way beyond even our own personal life experiences, but into our ancestral experiences and into past lives, if you believe that such a thing happens. Because this business has done a really great job of infiltrating everyone's lives. Even people that grow up in completely non-religious households have these particularly Christian ideologies that they like live by, that you kind of like can't get around. And it makes it really difficult for witches to be themselves. And I really feel, and I was talking about this today, that I am not trying to make anybody declare themselves a witch publicly, especially when they're not ready for it and all of that stuff. But I do really strongly believe, I know that is why I'm here, and that is why I'm the Bronx Witch, and why it's BronxWitch HeadQuarters, and why, even though so many people have pointed out to me that I would not get Jesus pamphlets in the mail or death threats on my YouTube if I just changed the name to, you know, the Candle and Spirit Emporium or something like that. I know that. I'm well aware of that. I could call myself anything. I could put my picture on my merch instead of the words Bronx Witch, instead of the words BetterWitch. I know that. I know that I'm here to change it for the next witch, to make it easier in real life, not just because pop culture has made it cool, but because a real everyday person has said, this is what I am. Get over it. And I believe I'm here to make it easier for the next person to say, this is what I am. Get over it. And hopefully they get over it too. You get over it first, and then start calling yourself a witch and telling other people to get over it.
Yeah.
Ooh, we have a
Uh,
question.
I feel like, yeah, I feel like this is the physical manifestation of what we're dealing with, like in the witch wound, like dealing with this kind of like bad name for witches, and breaking that down. But so yes, but I also feel like there's an energetic reason for that. I am a believer that energy cannot be created nor destroyed, simply transferred. So therefore, our energies are more than most likely have been affected by being a witch in some other time period. So I
Yeah.
feel like that's like, this is what we're doing now. Yeah. But that's because we were probably burned at the stake before.
And also, like not only on that end, but also consider that some of our ancestors were the witch hunters. Some of our
Ooh,
ancestors or our past lives
facts.
were the witch hunters, were the religious zealots, were the Roman soldiers,
Mhm.
were the ones that were, running through the woods on the outskirts of town, rallying up the women and the pagans and the people that wouldn't conform
Yeah.
and levying taxes against them or cutting down their crops, trying to force them into the church. So we not only carry the wound of being persecuted, but we may also have been the persecutor and therefore might really have some conflict going on.
Well, I think that's the nature of energy. It's that you're on the scale of religious trauma.
Yeah.
Your soul has come here to deal with religion in various degrees.
Yeah.
So differently, you're either like, just speaking for myself, there was a past life where I was in religious cults, you know,
Yeah.
that I left everything, family, everything, to follow these culty like things to my, to my disdain.
Yeah.
Um, so there's things like that, but then there's definitely witch past lives as well. So you that's what your soul is kind of here to learn, and that's kind of what the witch wound is all about. It's finding a balance therein and being okay, being okay with the term and the practice and the identity. um, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but I'm just painting a picture for you in terms of like religion and patriarchal based religions like father, son, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And more nature based religions or other types of pagan religions where they are more matriarchal, and that upside facing triangle, the downside facing triangle representing masculine and feminine, put them together, merkaba as a star of David, whatever you want. But the idea here is the way that energy moves in those paths. It's a very masculine thought to believe that the top, the apex, is where God is, and we're all down here, and we need to reach up to get to him because we're not there. We're not, and we never will be there. We're not God. It takes
Yeah.
away your power. It takes away your power, and they keep you there, a servant of that.
Yeah.
Flip it up the upside, learn about divine feminine, bring that balance back, because we do need balance. We need the Merkaba, but understand that the power is brought down into you, into your center. You are the power. You take the power from the energy creator source, and it's yours.
Yeah.
It's yours. So
Right.
that separation, that's kind of part of the witch wound. We've been separated. We need to integrate.
Mm-hmm. And it's so interesting that the accusation from the hyper religious is that the witches are not connected to God, when it's like, that's y'all's thing, is to not be connected to God, to insist that you need an intercessor, which they're literally called intercessors. You need a priest, you need an angel, you need a saint, you need a something in order to get to God. You guys are promoting a lifestyle of not being connected to God. You're mad at us because we want to be so connected to God that we recognize that we are God. Like, it's ironic, actually. Yes. Well, speaking of taking a nap, we have been chatting for those hours, and while there's not necessarily like a start or finish time for high tea, I try not to take it too long past like the 2 hour mark or so. So I think this would be a perfect time to wrap this up. First of all, I want to make sure that everybody knows where they can find Alexis. Alexis's website is electricwellness.com. Um, you can hang out with Alexis in the coven. You can just at her in the comments in the coven. Alexis does a monthly moonlit metaphysics on the full moon every month at 8:30 p.m. or the Friday by the full moon every month at 8:30 p.m. So we just had one yesterday, in which you can check the replay out on her YouTube. She's got a great blog where she does astrology forecasts, and she's also the online portal administrator for the portal. So if you are taking classes in our virtual portal, then she is the wonderful witch that's making sure that all of that is nice and operates well for you, and also has some really great classes herself. A masterclass on pendulum magic, several classes on how to work with crystals, including the crystal concoction class, where you can learn to make crystal infused oils and elixirs and waters and figure out which one of those crystals is safe to put in your bath and which one will kill you and all of that shit. So she's got amazing stuff. But I'm going to give you the opportunity, Alexis, to plug yourself. Like, what's going on with you? You mentioned a webinar that I'm excited about because I didn't know about it. So what do we have to look forward to from you in the shop, on the portal, otherwise?
In the shop, I would like to bring some sound baths later on in October, November, December. So look out for that. I would just recommend that you sign up for my newsletter in order to get a heads up on those things. Because
wait, hold on, your sound changed a little bit, and I just want to make sure people hear you. It just got like a little bit distant.
Hold up.
Which is fine. You can just like yell.
Uh,
I think it was in your headphones before, and now I think it's in your computer.
Probably. I don't know why I would do such a thing, but
let me see if there's anything I can do. No, I can only control mine.
Does that sound better?
Oh, yeah, that's better. Okay.
Okay, so now let me call. All right. So yeah, I direct you to my website to sign up for my newsletter because you'll get the updates for that. The sound baths in BronxWitch HQ, they sell out super fast. So you'll want to get a heads up on those. But my Moonlit Metaphysics last night, I encourage anybody who was really into this topic to go look at that, because that's all about grounding, centering, and cleansing. Really important aspects that give you the confidence to even step into this whole spiritual game to begin with, to call yourself the witch that we already know you are because you're watching this. But yeah, go watch that. The next Moonlit Metaphysics on September 13th is going to be about the clairs, because I find like as soon as we start learning about grounding, we are clairvoyant and an empath. And I don't disagree. You very well may be, but like, are you? Like, sure.
Yeah.
And so people have predominant clairs. There's a lot of obscure clairs that people don't even know about. People don't really know how to tell which one is their clair. And I have some easy ways to do that. So we're going to talk about the clairs. And then on September 25th, we're going to do a webinar. So you can also find that on my website, electricwellness.com, and under events. But the webinar is about discovering your psychic type. And this is a class that I've taught prior, but I felt like I needed to bring it back. And then I'm going to bring it back into the portal. So if you don't catch the live webinar, you will be able to take it later on in the online portal. But essentially, it's really not about the clairs. So we're going to talk about them in the Moonlit Metaphysics, but it's not about that. It's about your primary psychic type. And I'm going to go into these 4 primary types. I'm going to have a little cute little interactive quiz that you can take to kind of figure out your primary type, and then give you some actual practical tips, exercises that you could use for each individual type to strengthen your gifts. But also, if you're like, oh, I thought I was going to be that type, I really want to be that type, then bitch, you need to strengthen your primary type first in order for you to engage in the other types. And the more progressed and evolved you become in your spiritual game, you will be all the types, right? Yeah. But we start at a primary first. So we're going to get all up in that conversation on September 25th in the Discover Your Psychic Type webinar.
Oh, I love that. Love that
Can I
very
just shout out that it's
yeah.
literally $11.11 right now on some early bird special shit, because I haven't even told my newsletter about this yet. So that email's going out at the end of the month, and you have a few days to, so you have a little chunk of time to get it at that price, because it's going to go up.
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh, that is a super low intro price. I love that. That is very kind of you. If you guys are interested in all of the things going on with MWA, the Better Witch Magic Intensive, the fall semester kicks off September 4th. The last day of enrollment for that is August 28th. Hintity hint hint hint. If you take my How to Connect and Work with Your Spirit Guide class that went live on August 14th, there might be some special offers in there to make that more affordable for you if you are legitimately interested in joining us for the fall semester. I am doing my first ever witch talk. It's like a TED talk, but for witches, lecture series at HQ. There will be wine. We will talk about witchcraft. But if you are not local to the New York City area, then I will be live streaming that for the Coven Witches. So many amazing reasons to be a part of the Coven. Coven witches that are witches of color or BIPOC identifying witches, meet me tomorrow at 10 p.m. in the Coven for our Witches of Color support group. It's our monthly meeting just for witches of color to talk about the unique challenges that we go through. And we are going to be talking specifically about slavery, the effects of slavery. And, tonight's convo was about healing the witch wound. And now we're kind of talking about healing the slave wound, another trauma that many of us are carrying with us, even though we obviously weren't alive for it. But that definitely impacts our abilities to really fully express ourselves without fear of what might happen. And I imagine that this conversation is going to be really intense. So if you've got some feelings about that, come and express, and know that you're going to be in a safe space. It is a WOC BIPOC Witch only space. So we thank our allies, our non-POC allies for, respecting us from afar and giving us the support in spirit so we can have this space to, just be us. And then lots of big things happening at HQ, lots of shifts going on. The website has gotten a complete upgrade. And if you are tired of shopping on our website and finding the book you want to be sold out or that we don't have it, never again do you have to worry about that because of our amazing new bookshop storefront. So if you haven't checked out BronxWitch.com in a while, please, pretty please. I do the website, and it has changed a lot in the last 5 years. So please go take a look at all of my hard work at BronxWitch.com. I think you'll be really impressed. And that's also where you are going to find the Coven, the virtual classes, the events, all of the great things that we're talking about, connecting with Alexis in the Find a Witch directory. All of these things you can find at BronxWitch.com. So if you're not sure where to go, just start there and check the menu, and you'll probably be led in the right direction. All right. So thank you guys so much. Monica says, can't wait for it. I think she's talking about your classes and stuff that are coming up, which is awesome. Kiara's looking forward to the Better Witch Magic Intensive because she's enrolled in the fall semester. Yes. So thank you guys so much. Thank you, witches, for being here for another High Tea Live. If you want to be in the room, if you want to see your comments on the screen, if you want to be able to ask questions in the next one, make sure to join the Coven. Check me and Alexis out in there. So
Thank you.
have a great night, everybody. Blessed be.